9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Hi! Hopefully you can hear me. Hopefully everything's working and you can see stuff. I'm in a different studio that I normally am not in. So yeah, that's not the reason that I was late. I had to update the freaking my web browser. It was giving me problems. Yeah, it was super cool. Say hello to Colson. He decided to jump up uh, to be here with me. Wow, there isn't that much of a delay. That's interesting. Okay, cool. How's it going? How is everybody? Sorry, I have to get used to the differences of things. Do you like my little border? Should I change my border? I'm having fun with it. So, there's a bunch of different other options and stuff. So, I could change it up, but I kind of like this one. It's very fall-like kind of with my color scheme, like of the actual like background and everything. It kind of fits. I could change the other stuff too, but yeah. Let me know your thoughts. Is it annoying? You can't really see my name, can you? Interesting. I'm going to do this in real time. Go to my custom. And okay, so it's green. It needs to be a lighter green, doesn't it? Damn. I want it to be a lighter green. Light or not green. Blue. It's more what I'm meaning. Gay. I'll have to futz with that later. Maybe that's better. I like green and blue together. So I'm trying to. That's somewhat better. It's gonna have to do for now. Don't judge me. I judge myself all by myself well enough. Thank you. So So how's everybody's day been? You answer that while I say hello to all of you. What's up, Legatus? It's even got cool little pop-up things. I'm going to watch it on this screen. That's fun. Am I like grainy to you guys? It's really annoying. Pixelated. Maybe it's just on my end. Let me see if that helps. I think it was just on my end, but let me know if otherwise. Hi, Kel. How's it going? Welcome. Oh, that's such a slow graphic. Maybe there's a way to speed it up. Anyway, you guys get to hear me talk to myself while I try and figure out all of this stuff. Don't judge me. And Zillage, hello. I wonder. Yes. And actually, technically, I'm not normally late. This might be the first time that I'm late. Or the second. Out of all my streams that I've done. Okay, let me see something. Ha, okay. Rumble is on here. And I can pull it up, right? Does it say Rumble on the thing? No, that says YouTube. But that was not my... Interesting. So it says it's from YouTube, but that was from my Rumble. Huh. Interessante. Yeah, I forgot that this one I need to mute myself because you can hear me in the background. And no, you didn't, because I don't do that even if I'm muted while live, because that's just silly. That would cause problems. Am I fuzzy on your... God. Okay. Oh no, it says... Maybe my camera just sucks. It's very possible. Oh well. Like, it cleared up for me for a moment, and then poof, it was back to being grainy. Hi, Zillage. I already said hi to you, but I meant... Ugh, I'm all kinds of fuckered up. That's interesting. So when I pull this comment up, the ghost is facing the different way. For me, but not for you when it pops up on the screen. Like, it's facing the correct way. That's funky. Sorry, you all get to watch me figure out the... I don't know how to play with the settings in here. Just test internet stability. I don't know if I want to do this during... Because it can't be my internet. I guess it could. You carry a natural curse wherever you go, Zillage. I was unaware of that. Thank you for cursing me. That's wonderful of you. I appreciate it. Muchas gracias. Well, as long as you can hear me, that's what you need for this stream. Do. What's that button? Interesting. Okay. Ah, that just makes... Okay. It's so funny. So, like, I look fine on my screen in studio, but it just translates over whilst streaming to you all fuzzy. I'm not self-conscious about it at all. I swear. Nah, I don't do bets, Legatus. I'm not trying to jinx my teams with that. And I would if I did that shit. I try not to even talk too much shit until shit's in the bag. Just saying. I'm not like Dom, who just is a jinx. And he's got these excuses of reasons for not being here live and have to watch on the replay. It's kind of rude, really, but whatever. He doesn't love me anymore. It's fine. All right, cool. I'm okay with this, Illage. Thank you. I mean, I was gonna be okay with it anyway, but still. Are you gonna sit in my lap the entire time? It's not even food time yet. These freaking cats, man. All right. Does everybody remember what happened last time? Because last week I was having a whole situation going on. I was not able to stream. What's up, Dom? For the quick momentary jump in for a hello and a goodbye. Hi. Thank you for being here, even if briefly. And on the replay, and then you can see how much shit I was talking earlier in the stream about you. Yeah, his ears were burning. It's true, Legatus. I do want to let you know that it is postseason baseball going on right now. So if you hear any yelling, kicking, or screaming, well, not kicking because his legs don't work, but that's my brother in the background getting pissed off at bad calls in the baseball game. Just the heads up. That may or may not happen. It tends to happen a lot with our family because we get very angry at bad calls. Very angry. Or just bad plays. Yeah. Hi, Cliff. How's it going? Welcome. I'm just yammering on. Don't mind me. Ooh, I wonder. Oh, there's the count. Everything is backwards in this studio, so I have to like re-educate myself. Oh, come on. Sure, Dom, sure. Don't get mad at stories, home run. Yeah. Anyway, what happened last stream? I don't even remember. I'm not going to be good at a recap for this. Sign at the 4. Oh yeah, they're looking into a mystery of a woman whose father disappeared 10 years ago. And did Sherlock already figure it out? No, I think Sherlock thought he figured it out, but he didn't have all of the information or something along those lines. It's a mystery. I probably should have prepared myself better and re-listened to my stream from 2 weeks ago. That's my bad. Yeah. Let me see if I can go back. But yes, this woman whom I believe is a love interest for our lovely doctor, because Holmes is not interested whatsoever. But our doctor definitely is. Oh yeah, Watson gave Holmes a test earlier. That stuff wasn't all that important. Go listen to my first stream and you guys can know what happened. That's how I should do it. That's my recap. Go back 2 weeks, watch my stream. Are you getting more comfortable? Thank you for digging your claws into my legs. Feels great. Super awesome. Colson, can you please stop that? Oh, you're a punk. Okay. There. Stretch your claws out now as much as you want. They're not on my leg. Okay, let's see. So they're now at Rochester Square. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that properly in the British formatting. Roster Square, because they like to have letters and just not pronounce them. And then, yeah, they're on their way because they got a note from someone saying that they have information. And she needed to bring 2 men that she trusted that were not cops. I don't believe that her dad is dead. But the last person that he supposedly saw was like his best friend or something like that. And there's some other stuff that I don't remember. But yes, as Kel was saying, it was the guy named Muhammad. He did it. The Sahib awaits you, was the last thing. Show them straight to me, he said. It's some sort of Arabic situation going on. Basically, they got to the meeting point that was in the note, and the person confirmed that they weren't cops and told them to get into the Jarvie. And away they went to this neighborhood. It was like a rundown neighborhood, I think, for a while at least. But they got further and further away from the heart of London. And then they get to this villa section. None of the other houses were inhabited. Door was thrown open with a Hindu servant clad in yellow turban, white loose-fitting clothes, and a yellow sash. And then, yeah, they get shown in, and here we are at chapter 4. That's basically my summary that totally sucks, but it's okay. We'll figure it out as we go. I'm sure I'll probably remember things as I read. Can you please keep your claws out of my leg? That would be lovely. Thank you. I love my cats. I do. Don't tell Sam I was yelling at them. Hello, my darling. How are you, Selena? I'm going to have to get a new graphic. It's so slow for that to turn over. Banner. I'll have to figure it out later. But noted on that. I put a pin in it. But God. It was that one dude that did the thing with the stuff. Yes, that's the exact thing I was thinking, Cliff. How did you know? You totally read my mind, man. Crazy. You should do that for a living. You'd make bank. You're gonna tattle on what, Kel? Whatever, I'm not scared. Oh, I know what you're gonna tattle on. I'm not scared. Doesn't mean that he's a bastard. He's just got claws, and he knows not what he does. It's not purposeful. I mean, it's purposeful for his comfort, but not to hurt me. He just wants attention and food is really all it is. If I'm not scratching his head in the proper manner, honestly, he wants to become an alien because he loves to just rest his face in my hand like this, like a face hugger. And it just scratch him like this. It's his favorite thing. Yeah, I'm gonna start reading now. Is that okay with you, sir? Is that okay with you? Okay, I'm gonna stop talking to my cat now. Probably driving you guys nuts. My bad. Oh God, why are these not in order? Brand. Video clips, overlay. Absent pigeons. Logo can go away. This is not how I uploaded these. Ugh, that's really annoying. Freaking noted, man. Anyway, let's get to reading. It is rare that Rumble is ahead of YouTube on my computer. That's interesting. Clicking live now. Chapter 4. The Story of the Bald-Headed Man. We followed the Indian down a sordid and common passage, ill-lit and worse furnished, until he came to a door upon the right, which he threw open. A blaze of yellow light streamed out upon us, and in the center of the glare there stood a small man with a very high head, a bristle of red hair all round the fringe of it, and a bald, shining scalp which shot out from among it like a mountain peak from fir trees. He writhed his hands together as he stood, and his features were in a perpetual jerk, now smiling, now scowling, but never for an instant in repose. Nature had given him a pendulous lip and a too visible line of yellow and irregular teeth, which he strove feebly to conceal by constantly passing his hand over the lower part of his face. In spite of his obtrusive baldness, he gave the impression of youth. In point of fact, he had just turned his 30th year. "Your servant, Miss Morstan," he kept repeating in a thin, high voice. "Your servant, gentlemen. Pray step into my little sanctum. A small place, miss, but furnished to my own liking. An oasis of art in the howling desert of South London." We were all astonished by the appearance of the apartment into which he invited us. In that sorry house, it looked as out of place as a diamond of the first water in a setting of brass. The richest and glossiest of curtains and tapestries draped the walls, looped back here and there to expose some richly mounted painting or oriental vase. The carpet was of amber and black, so soft and so thick that the foot sank pleasantly into it, as into a bed of moss. Two great tiger skins thrown athwart it increased the suggestion of Eastern luxury, as did a huge hookah which stood upon a mat in the corner. A lamp in the fashion of a silver dove was hung from an almost invisible golden wire in the center of the room. As it burned, it filled the air with a subtle and aromatic odor. "Mr. Thaddeus Sholto," said the little man, still jerking and smiling. "That is my name. You are Miss Morstan, of course, and these gentlemen—" "This is Mr. Sherlock Holmes, and this is Dr. Watson." "A doctor, eh?" cried he, much excited. "Have you your stethoscope? Might I ask you, would you have the kindness? I have grave doubts as to my mitral valve. Mitral valve. If you would be so very good. The aortic I may rely upon, but I should value your opinion upon the mitral." I listened to his heart, as requested, but was unable to find anything amiss, save indeed that he was in an ecstasy of fear, for he shivered from head to foot. "It appears to be normal," I said. "You have no cause for uneasiness." "You will excuse my anxiety, Miss Morstan," he remarked airily. "I am a great sufferer, and I have long had suspicions as to that valve. I am delighted to hear that they are unwarranted. Had your father, Miss Morstan, refrained from throwing a strain upon his heart, he might have been alive now." I could have struck the man across the face, so hot was I at this callous and offhand reference to so delicate a matter. Miss Morstan sat down, and her face grew white to the lips. "I knew in my heart that he was dead," said she. "I can give you every information," said he, "and, what is more, I can do you justice. And I will, too, whatever Brother Bartholomew may say. I am so glad to have your friends here, not only as an escort to you, but also as witnesses to what I am about to tell, to what I'm about to do and say." I should probably stop anticipating what it says and read it. Sorry. "The three of us can show a bold front to Brother Bartholomew. But let us have no outsiders, no police or officials. We can settle everything satisfactorily among ourselves, without any interference. Nothing would annoy Brother Bartholomew more than any publicity." He sat down upon a low settee and blinked at us inquiringly with his weak, watery blue eyes. "For my part," said Holmes, "whatever you may choose to say will go no further." I nodded to show my agreement. That is well," said he. "May I offer you a glass of Chianti? I hate wine. Miss Morstan? Or of Tokay? I don't even know. I've never even heard that one pronounced. I keep no other wines. Shall I open a flask? No? Well, then, I trust that you have no objection to tobacco smoke, to the mild balsamic odor of the Eastern tobacco. I am a little nervous, and I find my hookah an invaluable sedative. He applied a taper to the great bowl, and the smoke bubbled merrily through the rose water. We sat all three in a semicircle, with our heads advanced and our chins upon our hands, while the strange, jerky little fellow with his high, shining head puffed uneasily into the center. When I first determined to make this communication to you, said he, I might have given you my address, but I feared that you might disregard my request and bring unpleasant people with you. I took the liberty, therefore, of making an appointment in such a way that my man Williams might be able to see you first. I have complete confidence in his discretion, and he had orders, if he were dissatisfied, to proceed no further in the matter. You will excuse these precautions, but I am a man of somewhat retiring, and I might even say refined tastes, and there is nothing more unaesthetic than a policeman. I have a natural shrinking from all forms of rough materialism. I seldom come in contact with the rough crowd. I live, as you see, with some little atmosphere of elegance around me. I may call myself a patron of the arts. It is my weakness. The landscape is a genuine chorus, and though a connoisseur might perhaps throw a doubt upon that Salvator Rosa, there cannot be the least question about the Bouguereau. Bouguereau? I don't do French. I am partial to the modern French school. You will excuse me, Mr. Sholto, said Miss Morstan, but I am here at your request to learn something which you desire to tell me. It is very late, and I should desire the interview to be as short as possible. At the best, it must take some time, he answered, for we shall certainly have to go to Norwood and see Brother Bartholomew. We shall all go and try if we can get the better of Brother Bartholomew. Blah, blah, blah. He is very angry with me for taking the course which has seemed right to me. I had quite high words with him last night. You cannot imagine what a terrible fellow he is when he is angry. If we are to go to Norwood, it would perhaps be as well to start at once, I ventured to remark. He laughed until his ears were quite red. That would hardly do, he cried. I don't know what he would say if I brought you in that sudden way. No, I must prepare you by showing you how we all stand to each other. In the first place, I must tell you that there are several points in the story of which I am myself ignorant. I can only lay the facts before you as far as I know them myself. My father was, as you may have guessed, Major John Sholto, once of the Indian Army. He retired some 11 years ago and came to live at Pondicherry Lodge in Upper Norwood. He had prospered in India and brought back with him a considerable sum of money, a large collection of valuable curiosities, and a staff of native servants. With these advantages, he bought himself a house and lived in great luxury. My twin brother Bartholomew and I were the only children. I very well remember the sensation which was caused by the disappearance of Captain Morstan. We read the details in the papers, and knowing that he had been a friend of our father's, we discussed the case freely in his presence. He used to join in our speculations as to what could have happened. Never for an instant did we suspect that he had the whole secret hidden in his own breast, that of all men he alone knew the fate of Arthur Morstan. We did know, however, that some mystery, some positive danger, overhung our father. He was very fearful of going out alone, and he always employed 2 prize-fighters to act as porters at Pondicherry Lodge. Williams, who drove you tonight, was one of them. He was once lightweight champion of England. Our father would never tell us what it was he feared, but he had a most marked aversion to men with wooden legs. On one occasion, he actually fired his revolver at a wooden-legged man, who proved to be a harmless tradesman canvassing for orders. We had to pay a large sum to hush the matter up. My brother and I used to think this a mere whim of my father's, but events have since led us to change our opinion. Early in 1882, my father received a letter from India which was a great shock to him. He nearly fainted at the breakfast table when he opened it, and from that day he sickened to his death. What was in the letter we could never discover, but I could see as he held it that it was short and written in a scrawling hand. He had suffered for years from an enlarged spleen, but he now became rapidly worse, and towards the end of April we were informed that he was beyond all hope, and that he wished to make a last communication to us. When we entered his room, he was propped up with pillows and breathing heavily. He besought us to lock the door and to come upon either side of the bed. Then, grasping our hands, he made a remarkable statement to us, in a voice which was broken as much by emotion as by pain. I shall try and give it to you in his own very words. I have only one thing, he said, which weighs upon my mind at this supreme moment. It is my treatment of poor Morstan's orphan. The cursed greed which has been my besetting sin through life has withheld from her the treasure, half at least of which should have been hers, and yet I have made no use of it myself, so blind and foolish a thing is avarice. The mere feeling of possession has been so dear to me that I could not bear to share it with another. See that chaplet dipped with pearls beside the quinine bottle? Even though I could not bear to part with, although I had got it out with the design of sending it to her. Even that I could not bear to part with, although I had got it out with the design of sending it to her. You, my sons, will give her a fair share of the Agra treasure, but sending her nothing, not even the chaplet, until I am gone. After all, men have been as bad as this and have recovered. I will tell you how Morstan died, he continued. He had suffered for years from a weak heart, but he concealed it from everyone. I alone knew it. When in India, he and I, through a remarkable chain of circumstances, came into possession of a considerable treasure. I brought it over to England, and on the night of Morstan's arrival, he came straight over here to claim his share. He walked over from the station and was admitted by my faithful Lal Chowder, who is now dead. Morstan and I had a difference of opinion as to the division of the treasure, and we came to heated words. Morstan had sprung out of his chair in a paroxysm of anger when he suddenly pressed his hand to his side. His face turned a dusky hue, and he fell backwards, cutting his head against the corner of the treasure chest. When I stooped over him, I found, to my horror, that he was dead. For a long time I sat half distracted, wondering what I should do. My first impulse was, of course, to call for assistance, but I could not but recognize that there was every chance that I could be accused of his murder. His death at the moment of a quarrel and the gash in his head would be black against me. Again, an official inquiry could not be made without bringing out some facts about the treasure, which I was particularly anxious to keep secret. He had told me that no soul upon earth knew where he had gone. There seemed to be no necessity why any soul ever should know. I was still pondering over the matter when, looking up, I saw my servant, Lal Chowder, in the doorway. He stole in and bolted the door behind him. "Do not fear, Sahib," he said. "No one need know that you have killed him. Let us hide him away, and who is the wiser?" "I did not kill him," said I. Lal Chowder shook his head and smiled. "I heard it all, Sahib," said he. "I heard you quarrel, and I heard the blow, but my lips are sealed. All are asleep in the house. Let us put him away together." That was enough to decide me. If my own servant could not believe my innocence, how could I hope to make it good before 12 foolish tradesmen in a jury box? If this cat starts choking, it's not my fault. It's because he's a little bit of a tard, and he likes to sleep like over things with his neck on the edge. So just, it's not me, it's him. Okay? Okay, everybody. Lal Chowder and I disposed of the body that night, and within a few days the London papers were full of the mysterious disappearance of Captain Morstan. You will see from what I say that I can hardly be blamed in the matter. My fault lies in the fact that we concealed not only the body but also the treasure, and that I have clung to Morstan's share as well as to my own. I wish you, therefore, to make restitution. Put your ears down to my mouth. The treasure is hidden in... At this instant, a horrible change came over his expression. His eyes stared wildly, his jaw dropped, and he yelled in a voice which I can never forget, "Keep him out! For Christ's sake, keep him out!" We both stared round at the window behind us, upon which his gaze was fixed. A face was looking in at us out of the darkness. We could see the whitening of the nose where it was pressed against the glass. It was a bearded, hairy face with wild, cruel eyes and an expression of concentrated malevolence. My brother and I rushed towards the window, but the man was gone. When we heard when we returned to my father, his head had dropped and his pulse had ceased to beat. We searched the garden that night, but found no sign of the intruders, save that just under the window a single footmark was visible in the flower bed. But for that one trace, we might have thought that our imaginations had conjured up that wild, fierce face. We soon, however, had another and a more striking proof that there were secret agencies at work all around us. The window of my father's room was found open in the morning. His cupboards and boxes had been rifled, and upon his chest was fixed a torn piece of paper with the words, "The sign of the four," scrawled across it. What the phrase meant, or who our secret visitor may have been, we never knew. As far as we can judge, none of my father's property had been actually stolen, though everything had been turned out. My brother and I naturally associated this peculiar incident with a fear which haunted my father during his life, but it is still a complete mystery to us. Not LOL, it's LAL. I don't know how to pronounce that in British English. Lal chowder? Whatever. I'm going to say lol. The little man stopped to relight his hookah and puffed thoughtfully for a few moments. We had all sat absorbed, listening to his extraordinary narrative. At the short account of her father's death, Miss Morstan had turned deadly white, and for a moment I feared that she was about to faint. She rallied, however, on drinking a glass of water, which I quietly poured out for her from a Venetian carafe upon the side table. Sherlock Holmes leaned back in his chair, and with an abstracted expression and the lids drawn low over his glittering eyes. As I glanced at him, I could not but think how, on that very day, he had complained bitterly of the commonplaceness of life. Here, at least, was a problem which would tax his sagacity to the utmost. Mr. Thaddeus Sholto looked from one to the other of us with an obvious pride at the effect which his story had produced, and then continued between the puffs of his overgrown pipe. My brother and I, said he, were, as you imagine, much excited as to the treasure which my father had spoken of. For weeks and for months we dug and delved in every part of the garden, without discovering its whereabouts. It was maddening to think that the hiding place was on his very lips at the moment that he died. We could judge the splendor of the missing riches by the chaplet which he had taken out. Over this chaplet my brother Bartholomew and I had little discussion. The pearls were evidently of great value, and he was averse to part with them, for, between friends, my brother was himself a little inclined to my father's fault. He thought, too, that if we parted with the chaplet, it might give rise to gossip and finally bring us into trouble. It was all that I could do to persuade him to let me find out Miss Morstan's address and send her a detached pearl at fixed intervals, so that at least she might never feel destitute. That explains the pearls over the years. Yeah, that was another thing that I failed to remember in my recap. Once a year, I believe, she would get a secret package with a pearl in it. It was a kindly thought, said our companion earnestly. It was extremely good of you. The little man waved his hand deprecatingly. We were your trustees, he said. That was the view which I took of it, though Brother Bartholomew could not altogether see it in that light. We had plenty of money ourselves. I desired no more. Besides, it would have been such bad taste to have treated a young lady in so scurvy a fashion. I am not gonna... Okay. Les mauvais gommens au crime. Au crime? I don't know. It's French. Who cares? The French have a very neat way of putting these things. Our difference of opinion on this subject went so far that I thought it best to set up rooms for myself. So I left Pondicherry Lodge, taking the old Kit McGar, and Williams with me. Yesterday, however, I learned that an event of extreme importance has occurred. The treasure has been discovered. I instantly communicated with Miss Morstan, and it only remains for us to drive out to Norwood and demand our share. I explained my views last night to Brother Bartholomew, so we shall be expected, if not welcome, visitors. Mr. Thaddeus Sholto ceased and sat twitching on his luxurious settee. Settee? I don't know how that's properly pronounced. We all remained silent, with our thoughts upon the new development which the mysterious business had taken. Holmes was the first to spring to his feet. "You have done well, sir, from first to last," said he. "It is possible that we may be able to make you some small return by throwing some light upon that which is still dark to you. But, as Miss Morstan remarked just now, it is late, and we had best put the matter through without delay." I do find it interesting that he couldn't have just explained this to them on the coach ride to the place. It can't be that far away. Or, I mean, that close. I guess it could be. Whatever. Our new acquaintance very deliberately coiled up the tube of his hookah and produced from behind a curtain a very long, befrogged topcoat with a astrakhan collar and cuffs. Astrakhan? Astrakhan? I don't freaking know. Some foreign-like term that means collar and cuffs. Or is a design of collars and cuffs. I know I've heard it before, but I just can't exactly recall how to pronounce it. This he buttoned tightly up, in spite of the extreme closeness of the night, and finished his attire by putting on a rabbit-skin cap with hanging lappets, which covered the ears, so that no part of him was visible save his mobile and peaky face. "My health is somewhat fragile," he remarked as he led the way down the passage. "I am compelled to be a valetudinarian? Valetudinarian. I have no idea what that word means. I'm going to look it up momentarily. Our cab was awaiting us outside, and our program was evidently prearranged, for the driver started off at once at a rapid pace. Thaddeus Sholto talked incessantly, in a voice which rose high above the rattle of the wheels. "Bartholomew is a clever fellow," said he. "How do you think he found out where the treasure was?" He had come to the conclusion that it was somewhere indoors, so he worked out all the cubic space of the house and made measurements everywhere, so that not 1 inch should be unaccounted for. Among other things, he found that the height of the building was 74 feet, but on adding together the heights of all the separate rooms and making every allowance for the space between, which he ascertained by borings, he could not bring the total to more than 70 feet. There were 4 feet unaccounted for. These could only be at the top of the building. He knocked a hole, therefore, in the lath and plaster ceiling of the highest room, and there, sure enough, he came upon another little garret above it, which had been sealed up and was known to no one. In the center stood the treasure chest, resting upon 2 rafters. He lowered it through the hole, and there it lies. He computes the value of the jewels at not less than 500,000 sterling. At the mention of this gigantic sum, we all stared at one another open-eyed. Miss Morstan, could we secure her rights, would change from a needy governess to the richest heiress in England. Surely it was the place of a loyal friend to rejoice at such news. Yet I am ashamed to say that selfishness took me by the soul, and that my heart turned as heavy as lead within me. I stammered out some few halting words of congratulation, and then sat downcast, with my head dropped, deaf to the babble of our new acquaintance. He was clearly a confirmed hypochondriac, and I was dreamily conscious that he was pouring forth interminable trains of symptoms and imploring information as to the composition and action of innumerable quack nostrums, some of which he bore about in a leather case in his pocket. I trust that he overheard me caution him against the great danger of taking more than 2 drops of castor oil, while I recommend strychnine in large doses as a sedative. However that may be, I was certainly relieved when our cab pulled up with a jerk and the coachman sprang down to open the door. "This, Miss Morstan, is Pondicherry Lodge," said Mr. Thaddeus Sholto as he handed her out. My theory as to why Watson is sad is because she's going to be richer than him, and now she's out of his league. What are your theories? Oh, I am so mad right now. So I have my little chapter things sectioned, right? I think it organizes it, I don't know, like alphabetically, maybe? Well, no, it wouldn't be doing that. Because it wouldn't. So, like, I have chapter 1 and 2 right next to each other, and then it's like chapter 19. I'm like, excuse me, sir. Uncool. Whatever. I'm gonna figure it out, or I'm gonna tell people that they need to fix their shit. Because if it's sorted chronologically, the titles of everything, yeah, all of those should be freaking in order numerically. It's really annoying to me, as most of you know. Don't get lippy with me, Cliff. Smartass remarks. I hate dry wine, but sweet, heck yes. Yeah, dessert wines are fine because they're sweet, and who doesn't like sweet? I mean, some of them can be too sweet. Let's be real. I never liked fermented grape juice wine. Yeah. I tried for a long time. You know what? Never mind. I can do it. I'll be right back, guys. Oh, good. Now my camera. Okay, there we go. You'll just kill. Sorry. Yeah, me neither, Legatus. Me neither. I already talked about the lol chowder. I don't know if that's how. Yeah, LAL Zillage. And technically the chowder is AR. So that's how I'm pronouncing it. Lol. Lol. Yes, there are a lot of foreign words in this book. Some of them are other languages, but most of them are just, Brit foreign language. Strychnine. Oh my god, it's so slow. Actually, now that is that how I originally read it? It just sounded so weird when I said it, but when I think about it now, strychnine makes sense. Whatever. I might have said strychnine first, didn't I? C'est la vie. No, teethy. Thank you for that overshare, Cliff. Unless that's a quote from something that I don't recognize, that could be that too. Yeah, you guys saw me talking to my brother. I apologize. I realized that I knew why the cat was being so needy at that point in time. He was not here for dinner, and I forgot that. And when I looked over there, when I was talking about wine, because I have a bunch of wine bottles on cabinets in my fridge, because I used to have a roommate that was a sommelier. She was a certified sommelier. I mean, that wasn't her job, but it was like on the side thing because she loves wine. So she would tell me to get her the bottle of wine that she was going to drink that night all the time, like on the weekends and stuff. And I would just pick out the fanciest looking bottle or the prettiest label because I had no idea. And she thought it was funny. So And so we just kept them all. The prettiest ones went up there. What you laughing at, Zillage? Strychnine, I'm assuming, is correct. Thank you, Kel. I appreciate it. Especially since if Sam is lurking, he's not talking in here. Unless I missed him. Breaking my heart, Sam. You're not here. At least you're not talking in chat. How dare you lurk and not even say hi? Or he's going to watch later. I have so many scratches on my leg from that stupid cat. He loves to lay in my lap. I'm not going to tell him no, but good Lord. I look like I'm 5 years old and was playing outside in the rocks again. Yeah, I don't believe you, Zillage. Okay, so fine. I was wrong, and her dad is not alive. It's an interesting story, I guess. And it seems to be true. Unless maybe her dad was not dead, and he is the one with the peg leg. That could be it, right? Because, I mean, who else would that guy be? The one that was outside the window when he died? Interesting. You know, Kel, you do make a very good point. I will give you that. He would call the cat out. That breaks my heart even more. I was going to look up a word. Might even look up that French phrase that I didn't know how to pronounce. What? Valetudinarian? Valetudinarian. Chronically ailing, sickly. Now for the pronunciation. See how close I was. I said it correctly. Valetudinarian. I got there. Initially, I did not say it correctly, but sweet. And then what was this? You know what? I don't care about the French phrase. If they can't say it in English, it's not important enough for me to look up. For the French. Like if it were Japanese, I'd look it up. I'd be able to pronounce it too, unlike French. Okay, let's get back to it because I want to know what happens next. And I need to remember how to do the button thing in here. Haha, okay, I will get there. I'll get this figured out. What? Haha, I found it. Next chapter. Chapter 5. The Tragedy of Pondicherry Lodge. Ooh, I was wondering maybe if they get there and the brother is dead. What do you think? Now, after reading that chapter title, I didn't read that before just now. That was just a thought that I had. Let's see. It was nearly 11 o'clock when we reached this final stage of our night's adventures. We had left the damp fog of the great city behind us, and the night was fairly fine. A warm wind blew from the westward, and heavy clouds moved slowly across the sky, with half a moon peeping occasionally through the rifts. It was clear enough to see for some distance, but Thaddeus Sholto took down one of the side lamps from the carriage to give us a better light upon our way. Pondicherry Lodge stood in its own grounds and was girt round with a very high stone wall, topped with broken glass. With a very high stone wall. A single narrow iron-clamped door formed the only means of entrance. On this, our guide knocked with a peculiar postman-like rat-tat. "Who's there?" cried a gruff voice from within. It is I, McMurdo. You surely know my knock by this time. There was a grumbling sound and a clanking and jarring of keys. The door swung heavily back, and a short, deep chested man stood in the opening, with the yellow light of the lantern shining upon his protruded face and twinkling, distrustful eyes. That you, Mr. Thaddeus? But who are the others? I had no orders about them from the master. No, McMurdo? You surprise me. I told my brother last night that I should bring some friends. He ain't been out of his room today, Mr. Thaddeus, and I have no orders. He may be dead. You know very well that I must stick to regulations. I can let you in, but your friends must stop where they are. This was an unexpected obstacle. Thaddeus Sholto looked about him in a perplexed and helpless manner. This is too bad of you, McMurdo, he said. If I guarantee them, that is enough for you. There is the young lady, too. She cannot wait on the public road at this hour. Very sorry, Mr. Thaddeus, said the porter inexorably. Folk may be friends of yours, and yet no friends of the master's. He pays me well to do my duty, and my duty I'll do. I don't know none of your friends. Oh, yes, you do, Miss McMurdo, cried Sherlock Holmes genially. Oh, I put the wrong inflection on those words. Oh, yes, you do, McMurdo, cried Sherlock Holmes genially. I don't think you can have forgotten me. Don't you remember the amateur who fought 3 rounds with you at Allison's rooms on the night of your benefit 4 years back? Not Mr. Sherlock Holmes, roared the prize fighter. God, I sound like I have a stutter. My bad. My tongue's getting twisted. I don't think you can have forgotten me. Don't... Bleh. Totally went to the wrong paragraph. God's truth, how could I have mistook you? If instead of standing there so quiet, you had just stepped up and given me that cross hit of yours under the jaw, I'd have known you without a question. Ah, you're one that has your wasted gifts, you have. You might have aimed high if you had joined the fancy. You see, Watson, if all else fails me, I have still one of the scientific professions open to me, said Holmes, laughing. Our friends won't keep us out in the cold now, I am sure. In you come, sir, in you come, you and your friends, he answered. Very sorry, Mr. Thaddeus, but orders are very strict. Had to be certain of your friends before I let them in. Inside, a gravel path wound through desolate grounds to a huge clump of a house, square and prosaic, all plunged in shadow, save where a moonbeam struck one corner and glimmered in a garret window. The vast size of the building, with its gloom and its deathly silence, struck a chill to the heart. Even Thaddeus Sholto seemed ill at ease, and the lantern quivered and rattled in his hand. I cannot understand it, he said. There must be some mistake. I distinctly told Bartholomew that we should be here, and yet there is no light in his window. I do not know what to make of it. Does he always guard the premises in this way? Asked Holmes. Yes, he has followed my father's custom. He was the favorite son, you know, and I sometimes think that my father may have told him more than he ever told me. That is Bartholomew's window up there, where the moonshine strikes. It is quite bright, but there is no light from within, I think. None, said Holmes. But I see the glint of a light in that little window beside the door. Ah, that is the housekeeper's room. That's where old Mrs. Burnstone sits. She can tell us all about it, but perhaps you would not mind waiting here for a minute or two, for if we all go in together and she has no word of our coming, she may be alarmed. But hush! What is that? He held up the lantern, and his hand shook until the circles of light flickered and wavered all round us. Miss Morstan seized my wrist, and we all stood with thumping hearts, straining our ears. From the great black house, there sounded through the silent night the saddest and most pitiful sounds, the shrill, broken whimpering of a frightened woman. It is Mrs. Burnstone, said Sholto. She's the only woman in the house. Wait here, I shall be back in a minute. He hurried for the door and knocked in his peculiar way. We could see a tall old woman admit him, and sway with pleasure at the very sight of him. Oh, Mr. Thaddeus, sir, I'm so glad you have come. I'm so glad you have come, Mr. Thaddeus, sir. We heard her reiterated rejoicings until the door was closed and her voice died away into a muffled monotone. Our guide had left us the lantern. Holmes swung it slowly round and peered keenly at the house and at the great rubbish heaps which cumbered the grounds. Miss Morstan and I stood together, and her hand was in mine. A wondrous subtle thing is love, for here we were, two who had never seen each other before that day, between whom no word or even look of affection had ever passed, and yet now in our hour of trouble, our hands instinctively sought for each other. I have marveled at it since, but at the time it seemed the most natural thing that I should go out to her so. And as she has often told me, there was in her also the instinct to turn to me for comfort and protection. So we stood hand in hand like two children, and there was peace in our hearts for all the dark things that surrounded us. What a strange place, she said, looking round. It looks as though all the moles in England had been let loose in it. I have seen something of the sort on the side of a hill near Ballarat, where the prospectors had been at work. And from the same cause, said Holmes, these are the traces of the treasure seekers. You must remember that there were 6 years looking for them. That they were 6 years looking for them. No wonder that the grounds look like a gravel pit. At that moment, the door of the house burst open, and Thaddeus Sholto came running out with his hands thrown forward and terror in his eyes. There is something amiss with Bartholomew, he cried. I'm frightened. My nerves cannot stand it. He was indeed half blubbering with fear, and his twitching, feeble face, peeping out from the great astrakhan collar, had the helpless, appealing expression of a terrified child. Come into the house, said Holmes in his crisp, firm way. Yes, do, pleaded Thaddeus Sholto. I really do not feel equal to giving directions. We all followed him into the housekeeper's room, which stood upon the left-hand side of the passage. The old woman was pacing up and down with a scared look and restless picking fingers, but the sight of Miss Morstan appeared to have a soothing effect upon her. God bless your sweet, calm face, she cried with an hysterical sob. It does me good to see you. Oh, but I have been sorely tried this day. Our companion patted her thin, work-worn hand and murmured some few words of kindly, womanly comfort, which brought the color back into the other's bloodless cheeks. Master has locked himself in and will not answer me, she explained. All day I have waited to hear from him, for he often likes to be alone. But an hour ago I feared that something was amiss, so I went up and peeped through the keyhole. You must go up, Mr. Thaddeus. You must go up and look for yourself. I have seen Mr. Bartholomew Sholto in joy and in sorrow for 10 years, but I never saw him with such a face on him as that. It's not looking good, boys. Sherlock Holmes took the lamp and led the way, for Thaddeus Sholto's teeth were chattering in his head. So shaken was he that I had to pass my hand under his arm as we went up the stairs, for his weak knees were trembling under him. Twice as we ascended, Holmes whipped his lens out of his pocket and carefully examined marks which appeared to me to be mere shapeless smudges of dust upon the cocoa nut. Cocoa is in chocolate. Nut. So the color of cocoa nut, not coconut. Matting which served as a stair carpet. He walked slowly from step to step, holding the lamp and shooting keen glances to right and left. Miss Morstan had remained behind with the frightened housekeeper. The third flight of stairs ended in a straight passage of some length, with a great picture in Indian tapestry upon the right of it and 3 doors upon the left. Holmes advanced along it in the same slow and methodical way while we kept close at his heels, with our long black shadows streaming backwards down the corridor. The third door was that which we were seeking. Holmes knocked without receiving an answer, and then tried to turn the handle and force it open. It was locked on the inside, however, and by a broad and powerful bolt, as we could see when we set our lamp up against it. The key being turned, however, the hole was not entirely closed. Sherlock Holmes bent down to it and instantly rose again with a sharp intaking of the breath. There is something devilish in this, Watson, said he, more moved than I had ever before seen him. What do you make of it? I stooped to the hole and recoiled in horror. Moonlight was streaming into the room, and it was bright with a vague and shifty radiance. Looking straight at me, and suspended as it were in the air, for all beneath was in shadow, there hung a face, the very face of our companion Thaddeus. There was the same high, shining head, the same circular bristle of red hair, the same bloodless countenance. The features were set, however, in a horrible smile, a fixed and unnatural a fixed and unnatural grin, which in that still and moonlit room was more jarring to the nerves than any scowl or contortion. So like was the face to that of our little friend that I looked round at him to make sure that he was indeed with us. Then I recalled to mind that he had mentioned to us that his brother and he were twins. "This is terrible," I said to Holmes. "What is to be done?" "The door must come down," he answered, and, springing against it, he put all his weight upon the lock. It creaked and groaned, but did not yield. Together we flung ourselves upon it once more, and this time it gave way with a sudden snap, and we found ourselves within Bartholomew Sholto's chamber. It appeared to have been fitted up as a chemical laboratory. A double line of glass-stoppered bottles was drawn up upon the wall opposite the door, and the table was littered over with Bunsen burners, test tubes, and retorts. In the corners stood carboys of acid in wicker baskets. One of these appeared to leak or to have broken, for a stream of dark-colored liquid had trickled out from it, and the air was heavy with a peculiarly pungent tar-like odor. A set of steps stood at one side of the room in the midst of a litter of lath and plaster, and above them there was an opening in the ceiling large enough for a man to pass through. At the foot of the steps, a long coil of rope was thrown carelessly together. By the table, in a wooden armchair, the master of the house was seated all in a heap with his head sunk upon his left shoulder, and that ghastly, inscrutable smile upon his face. He was stiff and cold and had clearly been dead many hours. It seemed to me that not only his features, but all his limbs were twisted and turned in the most fantastic fashion. By his hand upon the table there lay a peculiar instrument, a brown close-grained stick with a stone head like a hammer, rudely lashed on with coarse twine. Beside it was a torn sheet of notepaper with some words scrawled upon it. Holmes glanced at it and then handed it to me. "You see," he said with a significant raising of the eyebrows. In the light of the lantern I read, with a thrill of horror, the sign of the four. "In God's name, what does it all mean?" I asked. "It means murder," said he, stooping over the dead man. "I expected it. Look here." He pointed to what looked like a long, dark thorn stuck in the skin just above the ear. "It looks like a thorn," said I. "It is a thorn. You may pick it out, but be careful, for it is poisoned." I took it up between my finger and thumb. It came away from the skin so readily that hardly any mark was left behind. One tiny speck of blood showed where the puncture had been. "This is all an insoluble mystery to me," said I. "It grows darker instead of clearer." "On the contrary," he answered, "it clears every instant. I only require a few missing links to have an entirely connected case." We had almost forgotten our companion's presence since we entered the chamber. He was still standing in the doorway, the very picture of terror, wringing his hands and moaning to himself. Suddenly, however, he broke out into a sharp, querulous cry. "The treasure is gone," he said. "They have robbed him of the treasure. There is the hole through which we lowered it. I helped him to do it. I was the last person who saw him. I left him here last night, and I heard him lock the door as I came downstairs." "What time was that?" "It was 10 o'clock. And now he is dead, and the police will be called in, and I shall be suspected of having had a hand in it." "Oh, yes, I am sure I shall. But you don't think so, gentlemen. Surely you don't think it was I. It is likely that I would have brought you here if I... Is it likely that I would have brought you here if it were I? Oh dear, oh dear. I know that I shall go mad." He jerked his arms and stamped his feet in a kind of convulsive frenzy. "You have no reason for fear, Mr. Sholto," said Holmes, kindly putting his hand upon his shoulder. "Take my advice and drive down to the station to report this matter to the police. Offer to assist them in every way. We shall wait here until your return." The little man obeyed in a half-stupefied fashion, and we heard him stumbling down the stairs in the dark. "Told you he was dead." When it's a matter of treasure, there's going to be a lot of killing, it would seem. Don't you agree? Nandayo! Told you I'd be able to read it, Zillage. Cliff, why are you meowing at me? That's good to know, Zillage. I still don't like it when I stutter over words. Sometimes I think I get like stage fright, if you will. Because I can read the stuff perfectly fine in my head. I could probably read it out loud perfectly fine. But once the camera's on, it seems to be different. Dom, you can rightly go fuck yourself. That's all I have to say to that. Yes, I had to. I realized because I'm like, there's no way for me to say this for y'all to realize I'm not saying coconut. Like even saying it slow, I'm like cocoa nut. Like people could still misinterpret that. You think it was the dude who was freaking out, which means the twin brother who was freaking out? I do find it funny that he asks the question like, would I have brought you here if I had done it? Yeah, because that would make it seem like it's a perfect alibi. Like, why would I bring you to the scene of the crime? Like, if you think you've done it perfectly. I'm just saying. Like, why wouldn't you do that? Coco de Pepe nuts, huh? That's how I'm interpreting that instead of D's. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, Zillage. I'm still wondering if her father is still alive. But I'm also now wondering if the father and their father both had a thorn, like, as well when they died. Maybe her dad didn't die of a heart attack. Maybe he did. Die, I mean, that is in general. But, like, is someone using a bamboo stick and shooting poisoned darts, poisoned thorns, if you will, at people to shut them up so they can get the treasure? Like, maybe there was a third person that knew about the treasure and killed the father, like her father, by a poison dart thorn. Um, of course, Sherlock already knows. Like, why wouldn't he? And I'm not going to be able to guess it, and that makes me sad. It's so much different, like, reading the book than watching a movie, like watching a murder mystery. I feel like I can get those better because they're visual. And you guys know how good I am at visualizing things. So reading them is different. My brain will operate differently. Well, yes, of course he knows. Thank you, Legatus. Which I believe I did say obviously. For whatever reason, one of my legs is really sore. It's driving me crazy. That's my running theory currently. Yeah, I need more clues as well. And I also have forgotten the majority of the details that we had prior to me starting the stream today. Maybe I'll go back and listen to both of them if we don't find out in the next chapter, that is. He's just getting enough evidence for a steel-clad conviction. Yeah. Or it could just be a Holmesy thing where he wants the full picture before he provides the analysis, which is also his thing. I don't think there's... No. I think her dad's still alive. I don't think there's a third player. Because that wouldn't be fair to the reader to just, like, at the end be like, oh, there's a third person. Unless it's one of the people that he came back with. Maybe it's someone that wants to bring the treasure back to their homeland. That could be it. Like a major domo type. A butler type character. I guess it could be something like that. Maybe it's Lol Chowder. Like maybe the dad thought that guy was dead, but he's not. Or maybe their dad did kill her dad and tried to kill Lol Chowder, but only maimed him. And that's the person that has the peg leg. Maybe that's it. And the dad said that he was dead to hide everything and knew that the guy wouldn't. I don't know. These are my running theories. I got 2. That's how that's going. Let's see what more information we can get, because Holmes is also still trying to figure that out. I forget how many chapters this is. Is this only a 7-chapter book? Because that'd be funny. Okay, this is the Sign of the Four. Now, the other mystery I have no idea about is the Sign of the Four. Unless that means that there were 4 people that found the treasure. Okay, yeah, there's 12 chapters. That's what I thought. Okay. Let's move on. And if I press the right button, I might be able to do that properly. No promises at all whatsoever. Yeah, this is chapter 6, not chapter 8. So forgive my retardation that just took place. And pretend that little video break said chapter 6 and not 8. I'm just staring at it, annoyed, as it was running by. So chapter 6, Sherlock Holmes gives a demonstration. Now, Watson, said Holmes, rubbing his hands, we have half an hour to ourselves. I knew he was sending that dude off to, give them more time. Let us make good use of it. My case is, as I have told you, almost complete, but we must not err on the side of overconfidence. Simple as the case seems now, there may be something deeper underlying it. Simple, I ejaculated. Surely, said he, with something of the air of a clinical professor expounding to his class. Just sit in the corner there. Take your footprints. Oh, that your footprints may not complicate matters. Now to work. In the first place, how did these folk come and how did they go? The door has not been opened since last night. How the window? He carried the lamp across to it, muttering his observations aloud the while, but addressing them to himself rather than to me. Window is snibbed on the other side, inner side. Framework is solid. No hinges at the side. Let us open it. No water pipe near. Roof quite out of reach, yet a man has mounted by the window. It rained a little last night. Here's the print of a foot in mold upon the sill, and here's a circular muddy mark, and here again upon the floor, and here again by the table. See here, Watson. This is really a very pretty demonstration. I looked at the round, well-defined muddy discs. This is not a footmark, said I. It is something much more valuable to us. It is the impression of a wooden stump. You see here on the sill is the boot mark, a heavy boot with the broad metal heel, and beside it is the mark of the timber toe. It is the wooden-legged man. Quite so. But there has been someone else, a very able and efficient ally. Could you scale that wall, Doctor? Ah, maybe it is 4 people. I looked out the open window. The moon still shone brightly on that angle of the house. We were a good 60 feet from the round. I think it means ground, but it says round. And, look where I would, I could see no foothold, nor as much as a crevice in the brickwork. It is absolutely impossible, I answered. Without aid, it is so. But suppose you had a friend up here who lowered you this good stout rope, which I see in the corner, securing on one end of it to this great hook in the wall. Then I think if you were an active man, you might swarm up, wooden leg and all. You would depart, of course, in the same fashion, and your ally would draw up the rope, untie it from the hook, shut the window, snib it on the inside, and get away in the way that he originally came. As a minor point, it may be noted, he continued, fingering the rope, that our wooden-legged friend, though a fair climber, was not a professional sailor. His hands were far from horny. My lens discloses more than one blood mark, especially towards the end of the rope, from which I gather that he slipped down with such velocity that he took the skin off his hand. This is all very well, said I, but the thing becomes more unintelligible than ever. How about this mysterious ally? How came he into the room? Yes, the ally, repeated Holmes pensively. There are features of interest about this ally. He lifts the case from the regions of the commonplace. I fancy that this ally breaks fresh ground in the annals of crime in this country. Though parallel cases suggest themselves from India and, if my memory serves me, from Senegambia? Senegambia? How came he then? I reiterated. The door is locked. The window is inaccessible. Was it through the chimney? The grate is much too small, he answered. I had already considered that possibility. How then? I persisted. You will not apply my precept, he said, shaking his head. How often have I said to you that when you have eliminated the impossible, whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth? We know that he did not come through the door, the window, or the chimney. We also know that he could not have been concealed in the room, as there is no concealment possible. Whence, then, did he come? He came through the hole in the roof, I cried. Of course he did. He must have done so. If you will have the kindness to hold the lamp for me, we shall now extend our researches to the room above, the secret room in which the treasure was found. He mounted the steps, and, seizing a rafter with either hand, he swung himself up into the garret. Then, lying on his face, he reached down for the lamp and held it while I followed him. The chamber in which we found ourselves was about 10 feet one way and 6 the other. The floor was formed by the rafters, with thin lath and plaster between, so that in walking one had to step from beam to beam. The roof ran up to an apex and was evidently the inner shell of the true roof of the house. There was no furniture of any sort, and the accumulated dust of years lay thick upon the floor. Here you are, you see, said Sherlock Holmes, putting his hand against the sloping wall. This is a trap door which leads out onto the... Okay, so I was wondering, I was like, how did they get it up there? They just plastered over everything after they hid it away? There had to be a trap door. I should have mentioned this earlier. Now I lost my place. Forgive me. This is a trapdoor which leads out onto the roof. I can press it back, and here is the roof itself, sloping at a gentle angle. This, then, is the way by which number 1 entered. Let us see if we can find any other traces of his individuality. He held down the lamp to the floor, and as he did so, I saw for the second time that night a startled, surprised look come over his face. For myself, as I followed his gaze, my skin was cold under my clothes. The floor was covered thickly with the prints of a naked foot, clear, well-defined, perfectly formed, but scarce half the size of those of an ordinary man. "Holmes," I said in a whisper, "a child has done the horrid thing." He had recovered his self-possession in an instant. "I was staggered for the moment," he said, "but the thing is quite natural. My memory failed me, or I should have been able to foretell it. There is nothing more to be learned here. Let us go down." "What is your theory, then, as to those footmarks?" I asked eagerly, when we had regained the lower room once more. "My dear Watson, try a little analysis yourself," said he with a touch of impatience. "You know my methods. Apply them, and it will be instructive to compare results." "I cannot conceive anything which will cover the facts," I answered. "Is it a woman's footprint?" "It will be clear enough to you soon," said he in an offhand way. "I think that there is nothing else of importance here, but I will look." He whipped out his lens and a tape measure and hurried about the room on his knees, measuring, comparing, examining, with his long, thin nose only a few inches from the planks, and his beady eyes gleaming and deep-set like those of a bird. So swift, silent, and furtive were his movements, like those of a trained bloodhound picking out a scent, that I could not but think what a terrible criminal he would have made had he turned his energy and sagacity into against the law, instead of exerting them in its defense. As he hunted about, he kept muttering to himself, and finally he broke out into a loud crow of delight. "We are certainly in luck," said he. "We ought to have very little trouble now. Number 1 has had the misfortune to tread in the creosote." No idea what that means. "You can see the outline of the edge of his small foot here at the side of this evil-smelling mess. The carboy has been cracked, you see, and the stuff has leaked out." "What then?" I asked. "Why, we have got him, that's all," said he. "I know a dog that would follow that scent to the world's end. If a pack can track a trailed herring across a shire, how far can a specially trained hound follow so pungent a smell as this? It sounds like a sum in the rule of 3. The answer should give us the— But hello! Here are the accredited representatives of the law. Accredited representatives of the law. Heavy steps and the clamor of loud voices were audible from below, and the hall door shut with a loud crash. "Before they come," said Holmes, "just put your hand here on this poor fellow's arm, and here on his leg. What do you feel?" "The muscles are as hard as a board," I answered. "Quite so. They are in a state of extreme contraction, far exceeding the usual rigor mortis. Coupled with this distortion of the face, this Hippocratic smile, or riscus sardonicus, as the old writers called it, what conclusion would it suggest to your mind?" "Death from some powerful vegetable alkaloid." "Alkaloid," I answered. "Some strychnine-like substance, which would produce tetanus." That was the idea which occurred to me the instant I saw the drawn muscles of the face. On getting into the room, I at once looked for the means by which the poison had entered the system. As you saw, I discovered a thorn which had been driven or shot with no great force into the scalp. You observe that the part struck was that which would be turned towards the— You observe that the part struck was that which would be turned towards the hole in the ceiling if the man were erect in his chair. Now examine the thorn." I took it up gingerly and held it in the light of the lantern. It was long, sharp, and black, with a glazed look near the point, as though some gummy substance had dried upon it. The blunt end had been trimmed and rounded off with a knife. "Is that an English thorn?" he asked. "No, it certainly is not. With all these data, you should be able to draw some just inference, but here are the regulars. so the auxiliary forces may beat a retreat. As he spoke, the steps which had been coming nearer sounded loudly on the passage, and a very stout, portly man in a gray suit strode heavily into the room. He was red-faced, burly, and plethoric? Plethoric? Like a plethora? What does that fucking mean? He was red-faced, burly, and plethoric, with a pair of very small, twinkling eyes which looked keenly out from between swollen and puffy pouches. He was closely followed by an inspector in uniform and by the still palpitating Thaddeus Sholto. "Here's a business," he cried in a muffled, husky voice. "Here's a pretty business. But who are all these? Why, the house seems to be as full as a rabbit warren." "I think you must recollect me, Mr. Athelney Jones," said Holmes quietly. "Why, of course I do," he wheezed. "It's Mr. Sherlock Holmes, the theorist. Remember you. I'll never forget how you lectured us all on causes and inferences and effects in the Bishopgate jewel case. It's true you set us on the right track, but you'll own now that it was more by good luck than by good guidance. It was a piece of very simple reasoning. Oh, come now, come. Never be ashamed to own up. But what is all this? Bad business, bad business. Stern facts here, no room for theories. How lucky that I happened to be out at Norwood over another case. I was at the station when the message arrived. What do you think the man died of?" "Oh, this is hardly a case for me to theorize over," said Holmes dryly. "No, no. Still, we can't deny that you hit the nail on the head sometimes. Dear me, door locked. I understand. Jewels worth $500,000 missing. How was the window?" "Fastened, but there are steps on the sill." "Well, well, if it was fastened, the steps could have nothing to do with the matter. That's common sense. Man might have died in a fit. But then the jewels are missing. Ha! I have a theory. These flashes come upon me at times. Just step outside, Sergeant, and you, Mr. Sholto. Your friend can remain. What do you think of this, Holmes? Sholto was, on his own confession, with his brother last night. The brother died in a fit, on which Sholto walked off with the treasure. How's that? On which the dead man very considerately got up and locked the door on the inside. Huh. There's a flare there. Let us apply common sense to the matter. This Thaddeus Sholto was with his brother. There was a quarrel. So much we know. The brother is dead and the jewels are gone. So much also we know. No one saw the brother from the time Thaddeus left him. His bed had not been slept in. Thaddeus is evidently in a most disturbed state of mind. His appearance is, well, not attractive. You see that I am weaving my web round Thaddeus. The net begins to close upon him. You are not quite in possession of the facts yet, said Holmes. This splinter of wood, which I have every reason to believe to be poisoned, was in the man's scalp where you still see the mark. This card, inscribed as you see it, was on the table, and beside it lay this rather curious stone-headed instrument. How does all that fit into your theory? Confirms it in every respect, said the fat detective pompously. House is full of Indian curiosities. Thaddeus brought this up, and if this splinter be poisonous, Thaddeus may as well have made murderous use of it as any other man. The card is some hocus pocus, a blind, as like as not. The only question is, how did he depart? Ah, of course, here's a hole in the roof. With great activity, considering his bulk, he sprang up the steps and squeezed through into the garret, and immediately afterwards we heard his exulting voice proclaiming that he had found the trap door. He can find something, remarked Holmes, shrugging his shoulders. He has occasional glimmerings of reason. Il n'a pas de soucis incommodes que ce qui ont de l'esprit. I have no idea what the fuck that says. More French, everybody. Don't we love it? You see, said Athelney Jones, reappearing down the steps again, facts are better than mere theories after all. My view of the case is confirmed. There is a trap door communicating with the roof, and it is partly open. It was I who opened it. Oh, indeed. You did notice it then? He seemed a little crestfallen at the discovery. Well, whoever noticed it, it shows how our gentleman got away. Inspector. Yes, sir, from the passage. Ask Mr. Sholto to step this way. Mr. Sholto, it is my duty to inform you that anything which you may say will be used against you. I arrest you in the Queen's name as being concerned in the death of your brother. There now, didn't I tell you? Cried the poor little man, throwing out his hands and looking from one to the other of us. Don't trouble yourself about it, Mr. Sholto, said Holmes. I think that I can engage to clear you of the charge. Don't promise too much, Mr. Theorist. Don't promise too much, snapped the detective. You may find it a harder matter than you think. Not only will I clear him, Mr. Jones, but I will make you a free present of the name and description of one of the two people who were in this room last night. His name, I have every reason to believe, is Jonathan Small. He is a poorly educated man, small, active, with his right leg off and wearing a wooden stump which is worn away upon the inner side. His left boot has a coarse, square-toed sole with an iron band round the heel. He is a middle-aged man, much sunburned, and has been a convict. These few indications may be of some assistance to you, coupled with the fact that there is a good deal of skin missing from the palm of his hand. The other man, asked Athelney Jones in a sneering voice, but impressed none the less, as I could easily see by the precision of the other's manner. Is a rather curious person, said Sherlock Holmes, turning upon his heel. I hope before very long to be able to introduce you to the pair of them. A word with you, Watson. He led me out to the head of the stair. This unexpected occurrence, he said, has caused us rather to lose sight of the original purpose of our journey. I have just been thinking so, I answered. It is not right that Miss Morstan should remain in this stricken house. No. You must escort her home. She lives with Mrs. Cecil Forrester in Lower Camberwell. So it is not very far. I will wait for you here if you will drive out again. Or perhaps you are too tired? By no means. I don't think I could rest until I know more of this fantastic business. I have seen something of the rough side of life, but I give you my word that this quick succession of strange surprises tonight has shaken my nerve completely. I should like, however, to see the matter through with you, now that I have got so far. Your presence will be of great service to me, he answered. We shall work the case out independently, and leave this fellow Jones to exult over any mare's nest which he may choose to construct. When you have dropped Miss Morstan, I wish you to go on to number 3, Pinchin Lane, down near the water's edge at Lambeth. The third house on the right-hand side is a bird stuffer's. Sherman is the name. You will see a weasel holding a young rabbit in the window. Knock old Sherman up and tell him, with my compliments, that I want Toby at once. You'll bring Toby back in the cab with you. A dog, I suppose? Yes, a queer mongrel, with a most amazing power of scent. I would rather have Toby's help than that of the whole detective force of London. I shall bring him then, said I. It is 1 now. I ought to be back before 3 if I can get a fresh horse. And I, said Holmes, shall see what I can learn from Mrs. Burnstone and from the Indian servant who, Mr. Thaddeus, tell me, sleeps in the next garret. Then I shall study the great Jones's methods and listen to his not too delicate sarcasms. This one looks like German. Wir sind gewohnt, dass die Menschen verhöhnen, was sie nicht verstehen. Goth is always pithy. I don't think I pronounced that person's name properly, though. Goethe. I might look that one up. I'm not as averse to looking up German. Can you tell I don't like French sillage? I tend to attack it a bit. Okay, so it's not a woman. I was thinking because the feet are so small that he thought it was a child's, that it was likely going to be a woman. Dang it, Zillage. Isn't that why I keep you around for your German? Aren't you of the Aryan race? Maybe not. You're a bit too dark, I guess. All right, let's see. That was 3 chapters I did, right? Yep. You know, I am much better at English than I can sometimes read, apparently. Maybe I should be nicer to Dermy. Never. Not gonna happen. All right. I do have housekeeping stuff kind of for you guys. I am not going to be here next week because I am going on a trip. This one is a work trip. So I will not have I'll only have my work laptop with me. And I'm not going to bring my laptop. I don't want to bring 2 laptops. I don't even know what I'd be doing. Let me see if I can figure out what I'd be doing on Wednesday. If my internet would load. There we go. Okay, let's see. Damn it. Load. There we go. So that's Friday, Saturday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Nope, that's a travel day. I mean, I might have time. Nope, I wouldn't have time. Never mind. Yeah. I'm not going to bring my laptop. Sorry. Sorry, guys. Yes, I'm a bit of a busybody. I mean, not in the term of that original definition, because isn't a busybody just a gossip? Because I'm definitely not that. But I am very busy of late, we'll say. A work trip, unless your pleasure book sighing tour? I think you mean sightseeing tour? Pleasure book? Signing tour. Yeah, no, that's not what the last trip was either, but thanks, Legatus. Why do you think I'm going to be at the airport tomorrow? Not tomorrow. Today is only Wednesday. I will be at the airport in 2 days. You'll get over it, Cliff. It'll be okay. And then I promise okay, maybe I shouldn't promise. Life is a bit rocky right now. But I shouldn't miss mini streams for a while. After I get back. And it's only 1 stream this week. Or this time, not 2. So that's good, at least. Let's see. I promise next time I'll be better at recapping. Yeah, I think that's it for now. But I appreciate all you guys hanging out. Will I be okay? I'm not okay now. What makes you think I will be? I just know things. I read and I know things. Don't worry, I filled in the blank there, Cliff. But the correction was appreciated, I guess. All right. So everybody have a good 2 weeks. And I will see you back on like the 15th or something. Ha! That was a good guess. One would think that I would just do the math for 14 days from now, but I didn't. I just guessed. Shut up. No one asked you. Everyone ignore my brother if you can hear him. which I don't think you could, but whatever.
She's
Anyway.
very good at math.
Freaking jackass. Y'all should go to Twitter and follow him because it bothers him when random people follow him for no reason, and it makes me laugh. At Resef the Cripple. I wish you had Twitter, Legatus, but I feel like that might give away my plan to make people randomly follow him. Anyway, thank you for hanging out, guys. I appreciate it. I'm gonna go make dinner. Yeah, late dinner tonight. I don't think I'm gonna have time to be on pregame on Static's channel tomorrow, nor will I be on Ballbusters because I will be on my work trip and not able to stream, nor will I be on Screaming into the Void. So this is the last you're gonna see me for a while. I'm sorry. I know you miss my beautiful hair. Yeah, so I'll just see you guys in 2 weeks and I'll kickstart things back up there. If you follow me on all the socials, I don't really post on Instagram, but I post on Twitter, random shit, and I will have Twitter access. So you can chit chat with me there like you normally do and make fun of me and things and stuff. I guess I could link to the... Hold, please. I can do this, I think. Can I put links? I think I'm the only one that can put links, right? Maybe. I don't know. Actually, it won't be a link, but here's his handle. Or, oh, just a second. What do you need? I don't trust you.
Is your stream over?
No. That's why I don't trust you. Go away. Anyway.
She's not good at math.
You're... I can see your arm.
Oh no.
I was going to say wave. God. He's drinking stuff. Hi, everybody. Did that not? Oh, aha. Okay. Anyway, everybody have a good night. I appreciate you guys being here. Oh, Legatus, thank you for that. And then, yeah, I need to figure, since I'm using a different studio, I need to figure out where to find my stuff. I found it. Okay. Everybody have a good night. I appreciate you. Thanks for hanging out. Bye.